It's been an incredible winter and the jump season finale is upon us. There's still plenty to play for when it comes to the trainers' title race. We're looking forward to the final day of the national season at Sandown. Frankie Foster is going to join me, look through the racing. No hurdles and fences where you are though, mate. Over in beautiful Hong Kong for this big weekend over there.
Yeah, you can just see the skyscrapers behind me and the rain. Hong Kong is beautiful, but not quite beautiful weather. It's more like jumping weather. But yeah, no hurdles here. There's three Group 1s on Sunday at Sha Tin. An international field, but no British runners, which is a bit sad to see. It doesn't quite bring the British eyes to racing here. But yeah, good racing here on Sunday. However, I think all racing fans have had a keen eye on Willie Mullins and Dan Skelton, haven't they? I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the kind of memes that are being thrown about, the extra interviews we're getting from the pair of them, the chat, the owners obviously getting involved. Everybody's kind of getting involved with it, and it's good fun. It's certainly made for a much more exciting end of the season than we normally get. I'm not saying that Sandown's ever not exciting, but it has heightened it. I'm enjoying it. Well, maybe we'll talk about this, but I just don't think Skelton's going to hold on.
No, I don't either. I mean, I've had a little, obviously, I've had a little nibble on Dan because I want him to win it. I mean, obviously, Willie's come over numerically. Dan is far superior in terms of winners, but it's all got prize money. And Willie's 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 in the National has completely and utterly changed the landscape. So that to me, obviously, he did the same last year and it was great, but he's done the same this year, just picking up those big prizes, and he's going to be champion trainer, it looks like, for the second time. But obviously, as we recorded, Dan had a lot of runners on Friday. He's going to go into Sandown with the advantage, of course, but there's so much prize money on offer. You mentioned no British runners in Hong Kong, but like you say, there is a massive Irish invasion when it comes to Sandown on Saturday.
You're just breaking up a touch on me, maybe because we are cross
So far
continents.
apart.
But I'm pretty sure from over the other side of the world, Matt, you said that we've got some good action to look forward to on Saturday. We do. It makes for an exciting card because we're getting horses that we wouldn't normally see. I mean, in what Sandown end of season closer do you expect to see the top three jockeys on the card being Mark Walsh, Paul Townend, and Danny Mullins? It's not quite what we're used to, is it? But it's good, and to see the horses like Gaelic Warrior coming over, all of the horses in the old Whitbread, some class acts in there, are really really exciting and making that a proper race. So we're actually treated to some nice horses, which we wouldn't normally get. So all the better for jumps fans.
In terms of jockeys, you mentioned jockeys. Sean Bowen's going to be crowned champion jockey. Obviously, he won the Irish Grand National as well. What a week for him, and deservedly so.
Yeah, he's a top lad, isn't he? Top lad, top jockey. Such a nice fella. He's a joy to watch riding. He's a great guy to listen to when he's doing his post-race interviews. And he deserves it. He works hard. He rides every horse as if it, should be winning, even if it's 100 to 1 shot. Cobden joked in the media the other day he'd give his agent a telling off if he booked him on 150 to 1 shot. Sean goes out there and just goes and rides it as if, as if it should be winning. So he's a great jockey, brilliant jockey, and his ride in the Irish National probably couldn't have shown that better. To watch him get a spin round there on Haiti Colours, judge the pace, ride with such confidence. It's not easy as an English jockey going over and riding an island, let alone in an Irish National, and to dominate like he did is probably sums up his skill set and his confidence and the season that he's had. So to finish off the year with that and then now get crowned at Sandown, yeah, it's a proper year for him, and I'm chuffed for him. He's a great guy.
Yes, yeah, brilliant and well deserved. And we're going to start looking at the race. He hasn't got a ride in the first race. We're going to look at no Dan Skelton or Harry. Willie Mullins should say in the open at 120. But the last 6 races are on ITV. They're going to take us through this trainer's title battle throughout the afternoon and tell the story. He gets away at 150 and kind of a free hit for Dan Skelton here. There's 20 grand up for grabs for the winner, and he's got Risk in the Ground. He's on a hat trick. Those 2 wins coming recently. Sean Bowen, champion jockey. He's on board at Classic Anthem. 9 go to post. At only 9, but a tricky opener for you, Frankie, to solve.
Yeah, Risk in the Ground is having a great time with things. Do you know what I would love to pick Dan Scout and possibly Willie Mullins' brain on, but I suppose Willie Mullins has had this experience a little bit more. But after running a couple of horses that they may not have ran if it wasn't for the Trainers' Championship, has their opinion on targeting or training horses changed somewhat, because Risk in the Ground would not be doing what he's been doing if it weren't for the Trainers' Championship. And he's gone and won 2, and he might make it a hat-trick in a matter of weeks. So off the back of that, do you start to sometimes, or start to think as a trainer, maybe we should do this a bit more often? And if we have the horses and they're sound at home, perhaps we should throw them into handicaps if they're showing signs of enjoying their racing at home. And it's working for Risk in the Ground. It is a big ask for him to go and do it again. But you could see him running his race, couldn't you? I'm going to side with Insurrection, though, who, the way that Paul Nicholls' season's gone, he'd be much better off backing him this time of year than at the start of the season. But he actually wasn't disgraced at Cheltenham. That new handicap at Cheltenham is a classy race. You've only got to look at who won the race, Caldwell Potter, to know that it's full of class. You know, horses in there like Firefox, Asian Master, these sorts of higher class horses. I know they carry more weight than what Insurrection did there, but I don't think that's bad form at all to go off. He wasn't disgraced, and this will be much easier. And as we know, for whatever reason, Nicholls doesn't seem to have the best time at Cheltenham, albeit he did win that race, and is having a good end of the year. So I'd say he's a fair play, Insurrection, here.
Yeah, okay, Paul Nicholls and Insurrection. Harry Cobden on board, of course, has been an ally for Willie Mullins in recent weeks with a couple of wins. We'll come on to that in a short while, because we've got the Oaksey Chase at 225. This is like the end of season Gold Cup for the stayers, and again, plenty of prize money on offer, and Willie's targeting for Gaelic Warrior, obviously the eye-catching name.
He certainly is, but he doesn't get any easier to back for me, despite winning at Aintree. He is just... I mean, you see him anywhere close to evens and you're like, oh, do I really want to part with my cash with that tricky horse? I'm not sure I could. You know what? This is going to be fascinating. You talked about Cobden being influential in this Trainers' Championship for Willie Mullins, having, he rode 3 from 4 winners from him or something like that. Scottish National obviously was the big pot. This is surely going to be tactical. They've got to go 2 miles, 6.5 furlongs. Gaelic Warrior won at Aintree, or performed at Aintree, and Patrick Mullins' eyes, because he was able to switch off and just lob around. I know that it's not drastically shorter in trip, but a touch shorter, and behind a horse like Pictory, who will go forward, will set a strong pace, and will jump and put him under pressure, means he might not be able to switch off as much as Paul would like him to. I think it's a great matchup of 2 different horses with arguably the best jockeys in England and Ireland against each other on either of them. And weirdly, Cobden is still involved in this Trainers' Championship chase. For me, if I had to have a bet, I think it would be with Pictory, because he's more of an attractive price. That being said, Gaelic Warrior could win by a couple of lengths, and you throw a slip in the bin and think, why did I bother? But equally, you could back Gaelic Warrior at a short price and it could be a nuisance, and his race could be over before it's even started if he starts playing up in the paddock. So it's one of them. I think it's going to be exciting to watch from a jockey's perspective, and I'd like to see Cobden just go forward and say, come on then, catch me if you can, see if you're good enough.
I think the interesting thing is you mentioned that, taking a short price against Gaelic Warrior. Bearing in mind, Paul Townend kind of rejected him at Aintree. Obviously, he was on Embassy Gardens, wasn't he? He pulled up, and it was Paddy who got the ride on Gaelic Warrior. So I know he went and won it, but obviously he must have surprised connections there. He certainly surprised Paul Townend.
Yeah, and I don't know. I wasn't blown away by the performance. Grey Dawning is a nice horse, but he'd had a tough season. Stage Star is an okay horse. Like, if you put them two in this race at Pictory, a race that will suit Pictory, on ground that will suit Pictory, would they be drastically different prices? I mean, would they even be favourite to beat him? I'm not certain. And for all that he did win well, and when he was asked to quicken, he did go and secure the race, I wasn't blown away. I wasn't going, wow, this is Gaelic Warrior, this is what we've been waiting for. So again, that kind of just sways me back towards Pictory. I don't think the difference in class is that big to warrant the difference in price and in what I would call Pictory's backyard, or at least home turf anyway.
Okay, maybe we Pictory then deciding, which means less prize money for Willie Mullins. What about the 3 o'clock? This is going to be important in terms of the battle, because obviously Dan's got a couple in here. Willie's relying on the single horse. There's only 6 runners, 45 grand for the winner. Obviously Dan will pick up some prize money, considering it's money all the way down to 6th place. He's got Take No Chances, who beat a Willie Mullins runner early on in the season in Cargess at Ascot. He's got Kitzbühel, who needs to bounce back from that run at Aintree. I'm not sure this would have been like you say, any kind of a target. And then we've got Lucky Place, who probably will be targeted in this, bearing in mind, probably didn't just see it out at Cheltenham and dropped back in trip slightly. It was previously quite progressive. Obviously, James Bowen on board with the injury to Nico de Boinville, who we wish well.
Yes, I echo in that. Yeah, well wishes to Nico. This is one of those races where the Mullins effect has played my hand really, because all of these horses are just below that top level, aren't they? Lucky Place, we kind of enjoyed following his season and thought he might run a big race in Stairs. You're right, he probably just didn't get home. But has he really cemented himself as a Grade One horse? Beating Gowl Road at Cheltenham previously is not top level. Take no chances. Again, she's decent. She runs her race. Blue King Drew's been a bit disappointing. Selva's kind of mixed it in these sort of Grade Two type races, and all that Kits Bahel hasn't yet proven himself as a Grade One horse. It will be no surprise to see Paul Town and Willie Mullins and the Donnellys with another nice Grade One horse on their hands. So, given that he's pretty unexposed, and purely just because of connections, trainer, jockey, I would see him being a nice horse in the future. And the way that he put Break My Soul away at Gowan Park previously before entry, for me is enough to suggest that he actually might be one that reaches the top level, and all of these others below him in the market, they haven't quite got there.
Okay, sticking with Willie Mullins and 45 grand in the pot for him. And then we have one of the big ones. It's a Grade One to come here. Obviously, Willie got a couple, Dan's got a couple, but we're just expecting to be playing for place money because the star on the card, the star attraction, has a new man on top.
Yeah, Mark Walsh on board John Bon. It's going to be another interesting watch. This is the race I was talking about at the start of the show, saying we've got Mark Walsh, Paul Townend, and Danny Mullins. There would not be many years where those jockeys would be, well, you'd expect them to be lining up in the Celebration Chase, but it makes for good viewing. I think it's John Bon's to lose, isn't it? Be gutted if you were Nico watching this one from home. John Bon is probably every jockey's dream bar when you ride him at Cheltenham, but he jumps well, he's honest, you can go forward, you can sit off the pace with him. He's been super around here before. I'm sure Mark Walsh will have a great spin on him, but it does add another little interesting factor to the race that there is a new jockey on him, particularly given the comments about John Bon previously by Aidan Coleman and by Nico saying he does take a certain type of riding, but we'll see how Mark gets on with him. I would guess there will be some team talk in the paddock, won't there, from the Mullins team as to how can we get him beat. I'd imagine Energumene will go forward and try and be a nuisance, and Ilete Thompson will just be switched off in behind, as that's where he's won from, both at Punchestown and at Aintree last year. So I guess John Bon might be sat between a Willie Mullins sandwich. Edwardstone as well, probably go forwards, but that's kind of how I'd see it playing out. But I think John Bon wins. I hope he does. It'd be disappointing if he doesn't. And as Nicky said, Dan's been as concerned with John Bon as he has with his own horses to make sure that he can keep Willie away from some prize money, which I don't blame him. Certainly putting his hopes in John Bon to win this.
Well, this is an interesting one then, because we're going to talk about the 410, the big race on the day, of course. It is a big betting handicap, the Bet365 Gold Cup, the Whitbread to those of a certain vintage. And I don't know how I feel about this. Obviously, it's all about sport, and I think it's not... To me, this isn't very sporting, in the fact is that Willie Mullins has declared Grange Clare West, which keeps half the field out of the handicap, which basically means that the bottom half of the field are not running off the weight that they should be. They've got to carry more weight than they should be, because obviously there was a minimum of 10 stone 2, and Grange Clare West is obviously rated very high. So he keeps a lot of them out the weights, including Ho Jolie Smoke for Dan and Harry Skelton, who's unbeaten at Sandown and would have had a realistic chance if he could run off his correct weight. He has to carry a stone more than his ability suggests that he should carry in this, because Willie has declared the top weight, along with another 9. So he's got half the field, and he's kept half of them out of the weights. And I'm just not sure how that sits with me.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Matt. I think this would be the one thing, if you were Dan Skelton, that would just feel like a bit of a dagger, and you just thought, oh, come on, give me a chance at this. Everything else, more horses, entries up and down the country, this and that. But when you saw this, you think, oh, I'm sure he was cursing when he saw Grange Clare West declared. And the real kicker is because the rest of the Mullins horses do actually make up most of the high class ones. So he's put most people out the handicap besides himself. So a cunning bit of play or slightly unsportsmanship, however you see it. For me, that was kind of checkmate Dan Skelton, just nudging him in. And I do think that's the story we spoke about, who might win the Trainers' Championship. And this probably will be the race that it comes down to. It's the biggest pot on offer. And much like the Grand National, the Scottish National, Willie Mullins could have the 1, 2, 3 in this. As soon as I saw Dancing City entered, I thought he'd run a big race. I thought he fell way too early to Talent Entry, but I thought he was going really well. He has hurdling form with all top hurdlers that have also translated to good chasers. He's looked good when he stood on his 2 feet. He was disappointing at Cheltenham, but he did that as a hurdler as well. And I think provided he stays up, he'll be in with a huge chance. And Grange Clare West being in there still keeps a classy horse like him only carrying 10 stone 11. So hopefully John gets a great spin on him, and that'll be a nice end of the season for us, watching Betfred Ambassador John Joe Jr. winning the big one at Sandown. Bar that, I've got to give a shout to 300-35. Again, Harry Cobden's name's popping up in this interesting title chase. We're second here to Victorino. We'll like quick ground, only up a pound from that run. Good honest horse round Cheltenham, and Nichols is having a good end of the season. And then, you'd probably be looking at more Mullins horses. Grange Clare West could even run a big race. Manila Kakuna probably run a big race. Last year's winner. So it's all to play for. For me, Dancing City is in with a hell of a chance. He's a class act on his way up, and I think that will seal the deal.
Yeah, it'd be nice to John Joe O'Neill Jr. end the season on a high. I mean, not sure it says too much for the two Jackdaws runners in there that he's riding for Willie and not for his dad and his brother. But he's got 10 in there, so of course it'd have been a case of trying to get jockeys for all of them. And obviously John Joe O'Neill Jr. done and proud with a win on Poneros in the Triumph Hurdle. So it looks like it'll be Willie Mullins' title then in the last race. Obviously it will all centre around that 410. And I'm just looking at it again. I mean, if obviously Grange Clare West, he has been declared, but he keeps the weight, so he's £13 to Manila Kakuna, and Ho Jolly Smoke is £13 wrong. So he's only £13 wrong with Grange Clare West, as so to speak. So he is kind of with the rest of them. He would be carrying the correct weight if Grange Clare West was an absentee and the weights did go up, but he hasn't. So anyway, it comes to the 445. What have we got? 35 grand here in winning place prize. I mean, it may well not mean anything come to that contest, but ITV is still going to show it in case it does come down to the very last contest. And Willie thinks, just in case, I'll stick 4 in it.
Yeah, and I'll book Harry Cobden, Paul Townend, Danny Mullins, and Brian Hayes. Yeah, not bad, is it? I'm not convinced on any of them. Bunting took a bit of a gamble when Paul decided he was going to ride Bunting at Cheltenham, but hasn't actually performed there or latterly up in Scotland, was it? For me, might be for the Twistons, the last. I'm not overly keen on any, to be honest. I think a lot of these are afterthoughts, but Push the Buttons ran fairly consistently in decent races and goes again off the same marker 135, and that might actually be good enough in this race. The previous 2 races he's ran in have been, in my opinion, a bit hotter. As I said, for some of these horses, I think this is a bit of an afterthought and slot them in at the end of the season. So the Twistons, Nige and Sam, to maybe win a closer.
Okay, push the button then. For, is it the Sugar Babes?
Push the button and I think so, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Now you've said that, I'm definitely sure it was some Sugar Babes, yeah. What would be your best bet on the card then at Sandown on Saturday, Frankie?
I'm going to stick with Jonge, Dancing City. An unlikely duo if that is who seals the championship. The fact that John Joe might be teaming up with Willie Mullins again, but I'd enjoy seeing that. And yeah, sometimes those those horses that you see declared quite early on and you don't actually bother to sieve through the race. You just have a horse on your mind that you think probably could win a nice race next time out, and he fit the profile for me. I thought he was cruising at Aintree, just needs to stand up. So fingers crossed for a good spin for John Joe, and Dancing Titty might secure the Trainers' Championship in the big one at Sandown.
Okay. Right. Anything at Charlton that you're looking forward to over the weekend? Obviously, some of the world's greatest horses, certainly the world's best sprinters in action.
Yes, Kaiying Rising. I've done 4 of these trips to Hong Kong now, and I'm learning that it is worth siding with the locals, the jockeys that ride here more often. I know that's a given at any sort of racetrack, course form and jockey form around certain places, but you've only got to look back at previous winners, and it's tough to come to Hong Kong for whatever reason, how the track rides, I suppose the climate, the way the races unfold. The locals, the horses that have won here do perform well. Kaiying Rising is a bit of a given, isn't he, in terms of going off favourite in the sprint. I'd actually be slightly weaker on him than perhaps some local horses in other races, because Lucky Swainess runs in that, who's smart horse as well. But Voyage Bubble in the mile has won 4 in a row. 3 have been Group 1s. This could probably be his 4th Group 1 in a row. James McDonald will ride. He also rides Prognosis in the QE2 Cup, who's finished 2nd to Romantic Warrior twice. This year there's no Romantic Warrior. James McDonald would normally be on Romantic Warrior. He now also rides Prognosis. So 2 horses, Voyage Bubble and Prognosis, both great form at Chartin. Both have J-Mac on board, who's been super around Chartin, and both, I think, have a decent chance. Got no prices yet, but they'll come.
Okay, that's the action at Chartin. Then on Sunday morning, well, Frankie's taken us through the Sundowns finale. It's been a credible jump season. Congratulations to Sean Bowen, who will be crowned champion jockey. And congratulations to both Willie Mullins and Dan Skelton, who've obviously had stellar years. And we are still going to be waiting to be crowned who will be champion trainer. That's the story of Sandown on Saturday afternoon.